Welcome to another episode of the Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we take a look at all the latest goings on at Brighton, Hove Albion and Crawley Town. I'm Matt Polt, and this week I'm joined by Sam Morton, who covers both Brighton and Crawley, Albion writer Henry Bryant, and Ron Alderman, who has been keeping an eye on all things Crawley Town. Brighton's pre-season preparation continued at Southampton on Saturday, while Crawley Town endured a nightmare start in their League Two opener at Grimsby. This week we'll look at who impressed for the Seagulls at St Mary's, reveal why Albion's new £50 million strike pair have yet to feature in pre-season, and bring you all the fallout from the Reds' opening day defeat at Grimsby. You can read all the stories we're talking about, videos and pictures, online at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. And we will start as ever at Brighton and Hove Albion, where the Seagulls were held to a 2-2 draw at Southampton on Saturday afternoon. Yankuba Minter netted twice for Albion, but they let a commanding lead slip as the Saints came back to draw. You were at this one for us, Sam. What did you make of the Seagulls' performance, and who stood out for you at St Mary's?
Yeah, it was a strange one, actually. It was a really dominant performance from Brighton for about 60-65 minutes, to be fair, and they looked completely in control. 2 goals from Yankuba Minter, 2 very similar goals, actually, where he kind of cut in on his left foot and curled in a really, really nice finish. And it really shows how much he's been working on his finishing, because he told us last season he was unhappy that he didn't make double figures, which was his target for goals and assists as well. But it really shows he's been working on that, and I think we can definitely expect him to score double figures this season if that's anything to go by. He looks really, really good, and he could have had another couple. He had a goal disallowed quite early on as well for a foul, and also he was 1-on-1 but decided to square it to Matoma, who wasn't quite expecting the pass, and the chance was gone. And that was one of a number of chances that Brighton had to extend the lead and score 3, 4 or even 5 goals. But they were 2-0 up. Still, we felt that they were in control, but Southampton very, very quickly got back into it. It's a bit of a lucky deflection off Lewis Dunk that to see Jason Steele, who otherwise was very good as well, Steele. I don't think he could have done anything about that goal or the penalty that made it 2-2 when that was a handball from Matt O'Reilly. A bit harsh. It was a bit of nothing he could do about it kind of thing. And Van Heck was booked for his protest as well. And then they could have won it at Southampton. They hit the post not long after that as well. So from a completely dominant performance, Brighton nearly lost 3-2, which would have been crazy, really. And it's a bit of an eyebrow raiser, I think, going into the season. But at least it's happened now, not when it really matters, because at the end of the day, results don't matter in pre-season. It's all about getting the fitness and some minutes into the legs and that kind of thing. So, but I think there still will be telling his players, make sure that doesn't happen in the league, and to make sure when you've got that lead to add to it, and just make sure you don't let things slip unnecessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. But strangely, this wasn't the first game played between these two sides on Saturday. How a long game was played between closed doors prior to a second meeting between Brighton and Southampton. First, Henry, do we know why they played twice in one day? And second, what was the result from this behind closed doors fixture, and what sort of team did the Seagulls put out? Was it markedly different from the one they put out just a few hours later?
Yeah, it was mainly sort of an added warm-up game to keep the players sharp. Both sides have got quite a big squad list, and it was a good opportunity to get the players back into the mix of things. It's about giving those fringe players and youth players that could potentially feature for either side some important minutes. And it was a mix of players, really. I wouldn't really call it Brighton's B team because of the mix of the new signings and academy players getting their chance. And Brighton won that 1-0 in the 60-minute friendly. It was Jeremy Sarmiento that got a goal in the 21st minute that was the difference in this sort of training exercise, I would call it. The players that weren't involved in that proper friendly that was shown to the fans. And highlights of who was included in that was McGill, Veltman, the new signing, Coppola was shown. Simmons as well, who's a 17-year-old centre-back for Brighton, who's also appeared, I should say, in the youth sort of England squads. So he's someone to look at. You've got Kadioglu, who has had a few injuries, but he's been able to make a feature there. And Fabian Herzler has said that he'll be like a new signing when he comes back for Brighton fully. So that's one to look forward to. Milner was there, Yalkuye, Buonanotte, Gruder, Sarmiento, Welbeck. So yeah, it was good to see that Brighton have been able to have a little win, but maybe if it wasn't in a 60-minute game, they might have fallen apart and given the lead away. We don't know. But just like Brighton lost in that proper 90, that is an issue they need to pick up on for next season, because as we saw in the 24-25 season under Hursley, there were a few times where Brighton did let that lead slip. So we'll see, but it was a good exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned a load of names there, Henry, but Albion supporters would have been keen to see the club's new £50 million strike duo, and I apologise in advance that I'm going to butcher at least one of these names, Stefanos Zimas and Charalampos Kostoulas, I think I've done all right there, feature at St Mary's, but the Greek teenagers were not involved in either games. Sam, why didn't the two play against Southampton in either of those games? And what did Fabian Hertzler have to say about their continued absence? Because as far as I'm aware, I don't think they've played at all in pre-season, have they?
No, they haven't. They haven't been involved at all for Brighton just yet. And the simple answer from Hertzler post-match was that they're still in the adaptation phase. He doesn't want to take any risks with either of them, as well as Oliver Boscali as well, the French defender from PSV. He said they're still adapting and already in team training, which is a positive thing. But he was asked to clarify whether he meant adapting physically or tactically, and he said that he doesn't want to risk an injury physically rather than anything in terms of tactics, and they're just being very patient with them and just giving them time to adapt to the training intensity. But he did say that they should be somewhat involved in the game against Wolfsburg at the Amex, and he said that Baleba, who's injured, Hinshelwood, Verbruggen, they all should be back from injury as well. So some definite positive signs, and I think it will be exciting for Brighton to see what the Greek lads can do, because as we've discussed, they've not been involved at all yet.
Absolutely, and Sam's mentioned a load of names there out injured. Henry, who is currently among the walking wounded, and when can we expect to see them back? Are there any major doubts for Albion's Premier League opener at home to Fulham on the 16th of August, I think it is?
Yeah, well, it's the major doubt, or the one that's definitely never going to happen in a million years, is Adam Webster, because he has that knee ligament injury. He's definitely not going to be one that will be featuring for quite some time for the Albion. And it's a shame, really, because with new signings coming, especially in that defensive area, and also Ferdi Kadioglu coming back, although he's like a new signing, he hasn't got the same amount of Premier League experience as Webster. So to have him not involved is going to be a big miss, and even just being involved in those training sessions and helping the players adapt whilst on the field is going to be a big one. But just sort of going through the whole list, then you've got Buonanotte, whose ankle's been playing up. He hobbled off against Las Palmas, but featured in a closed behind the doors 60-minute friendly. Carlos Baliba's got a minor issue. He's missed the last 3 pre-season matches, but Hursley confirmed that after Southampton, that the Cameroon international will be back in training this week coming up. Solly March's knee is still a little way off his full fitness, and he's looking at maybe a week or 2 before he starts training with the full first team group. But it's unlikely that he'll be included in the sort of starting lineup or subs for when Brighton do play their first game against Fulham on August 16th. Ferdi Kadioglu's toe is injured. That's
not one thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's always something, isn't there? But as we mentioned, Hursley is excited to get him back. Julio Enciso's knee has been playing up. He's set to leave the club, but a possible transfer has been halted by that injury, and apparently it's going to take sort of 2 to 3 months for him to get back into it. And then finally, you've got an unspecified one from Tariq Lamptey. So, we'll see. He's signed a new 1-year deal over the summer, but he's yet to feature properly. So he should be joining up in training soon. But in terms of the injuries, it makes it sound like a long, winding list. But I think from the way that Brighton have been able to recruit, although it's not the Premier League experience that I think Albion fans would have quite wanted, and maybe a signing such as Harvey Elliott, I know that Hursley said that there's no one else coming through, but there's no sort of Premier League experience there. I do think Brighton are in a good position to start the opening few games strongly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked quite a lot about recruitment there, Sam. You spoke to Hertzler after the game at Southampton. They've had a busy summer, both in terms of incomings and outgoings. How happy is he with his squad at the moment? And is there any chance maybe of getting someone in short term or long term maybe to replace Adam Webster while he's out?
It doesn't seem so. I think Hertzler was actually asked directly if he's happy with the squad and if he's looking to make any more signings, and he said he's happy and he doesn't expect anyone else to come in. So obviously, if you look at the deals they've made, obviously in terms of outgoings, you've had João Pedro, Estepinian, Simon Adingra all leave, and they're obviously key players. And obviously Brighton have been busy. They've brought in the Greek strikers Christoulas and Zimas, as we mentioned. Obviously Maxime de Kuip has come in. He also impressed against Southampton. Actually, I should have mentioned he did look good. He was the only summer signing that started the match, and he did, show some really positive signs and was involved in the build-up to the opening goal. Midfielder Tommy Watson obviously will be coming in, see what he can do, and defender Diego Coppola as well. So there's been some good deals from Brighton, and obviously they've lost Evan Ferguson on loan to Roma as well. But it seems like Hertzler's happy. He said, we're happy with the squad. I think we showed today that we're in a good place, and now it's about improving the details and getting physically ready for the Premier League. And he doesn't think that they'll be making any signings between now and the end of the window. And in terms of Adam Webster, he says he doesn't want to rule him out for the season. He thinks he's a character. He showed it in the last season and the season before. He always comes back, and that's why I'm quite convinced that he'll be back as soon as possible. And he said that he's not planning to replace him either.
Do you think that's quite brave? I mean, he's probably going to be out for about, 6 months at least. Do you think that that's a bold move from him not to replace a vital central defender, Sam?
Yeah, I think it is a bold move because he's been really good. Adam Webster, he had a great season last year. He outperformed Lewis Dunk, actually, who had a bit of a rocky season. So Dunk will be looking to make amends. I thought Dunk did actually look quite good against Southampton. He clearly was not short of confidence. He tried to score from the halfway line at one point, which was quite funny to see. And if you're going to do it, you're going to do it in pre-season. So, but I thought he was really solid, and it was an unfortunate deflection that led to that first goal for Southampton from Dunk. But otherwise, I thought he was solid, and hopefully he can impressed this season. Obviously, Van Heck's again going to be a really crucial part of that defence, and obviously you've got Boscali and Coppola as well. So I think they're probably fine when you consider all the defenders they have available. But a couple of injuries, and we know obviously from history what can happen. And obviously, but it's good that Brighton do have obviously some versatility that can help if needed. Yeah,
absolutely. And before we take a look at Brighton's final Bundesliga pre-season game against Bundesliga outfit Wolfsburg. Sorry, Henry, you're a Brighton fan. You happy with the defensive options you've got now that Webster is out for what will probably be a considerable amount of time, or do you still feel there is a need to maybe bring in one more centre half?
I think so. I think you need another centre half that's got Premier League experience. Like, I keep on talking about that, but in terms of Brighton's model, we know what they do. We know that they discover hidden gems that haven't quite been picked up by the top six, or they're able to develop them. They're able to give them a platform, and that basically catapults them into stardom. I mean, we've seen it with the likes of João Pedro in the the other half of the pitch when it comes to attacking options. But I do think that maybe Hertzler will sort of just see how it goes till January, and then maybe we'll expect some signings. But as Brighton fans know, Tony Bloom isn't one to cough up during January. So then that also begs the question, like you guys were mentioning, if there's a few little injuries and a few minor injuries that get picked up, then will Brighton have the versatility? Will Brighton have the knack to overcome that, or will they really struggle? We know that there's been the idea of potentially even just a back three this season at times for a formation that Hertzler would be potentially looking to explore. I'm not quite sure. It would be quite nice to have another defensive option. I think Estepinian is a big loss as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he's been told that he won't be getting as much game time because of Kadioglu coming back. Or maybe he just wanted to move on. But I do feel like in terms of departures, when you look at the expertise that they've got in the Premier League and the way Brighton have been able to build them up, it's a little concerning, to be honest. It's a little concerning, especially with the leaky defence that Brighton have had in that last sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game.
We will wait and see. I suppose in Hertzler we trust, Henry. We'll see how we go. Brighton have one more tune-up against Bundesliga club Wolfsburg at the Amex this Saturday, as we mentioned, before their Premier League opener against Fulham. Do we expect Brighton to go as strong as humanly possible for this one, Henry? And I suppose in terms of opposition, it's probably the perfect way to end Albion's pre-season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Wolfsburg are a solid mid-table Bundesliga side, finishing 11th in the German top flight last season. And I think that the way that Brighton are going in terms of signings and things, they're probably aiming, I know, for Europe, but realistically, we'll probably get into that sort of mid-table section of the Premier League this season coming up. So I think it's a good test, and I think that they need to put out a good squad to show the fans what to expect this season. I don't expect too many of the new signings to come in straight away. They might appear sort of after that 60th, 70th minute, maybe get some of the more, newer players and players trying to get back into fitness featured. But expect it to be quite a sort of same old squad in terms of the starting 11s that we saw last season of the players that are still here. But it's nice to see. One big thing, I think, so far, touch wood, is that Mitoma's not gone. He didn't have the world's best season last season because he's just been so magic recently, especially for Brighton's Europa League campaign. But if he's able to get into full flow, and I'm sure that all Brighton fans and Hersler will be hoping for that, then we might be all right in attack. We might be okay. But you can't just sort of rely on him. You can't just rely on Welbeck. But I do expect to see those two featuring on that front line. Expect Dunk to be on the back line, manning things. And it should be a good contest. I'm looking forward to seeing how Brighton do, for better or for worse, of my hopes for the season coming up.
They'll only let you down, Henry. They'll only let you down.
Don't do it.
Now we'll take a look at the latest goings on at Crawley Town. I'm sure most Red fans don't want us to do so, but we kind of have to. The Reds endured a miserable afternoon at Grimsby on Saturday as they suffered, I'd say, a somewhat surprising 3-0 away defeat in their League Two opener. Josh Cabbier opened the scoring from the spot on 10 minutes before Cameron McJanet headed home on 30 minutes. A strike from Evan Curry in the second half completed the scoring. And I think there's no other way to put it, Sam, than the Reds could not have asked for a worse start of the season, could they? Pretty poor by all accounts.
Yeah, not an ideal way for Crawley to get things underway in League Two. Ron will be elaborating further in a minute, but Lindsay certainly didn't pull any punches afterwards. He said we were rubbish, and that's the truth of the matter. So that just about sums things up, really. But I do firstly have to bring up the penalty decision, which set the tone for things, because that was only 9 minutes in, and it was a bit of a farce, to be honest. The match was on at the same time as the Southampton game, which I was at. And a video popped up on my Twitter feed, or X, I should say. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, the penalty that was given against Crawley just 9 minutes into the new season. I couldn't believe it. I think obviously the Crawley goalkeeper, Harvey Davies, was the judge to have fouled Kieran Green. And I think Davies could have been a bit more assertive in the way that he came to collect the ball, but there was no foul. It was I don't know what the referee's seen there. And obviously that hasn't helped matters for Crawley. And obviously that penalty was tucked away, and Grimsby have only just built on that. And Crawley just never looked like they're getting back into the game. And they looked very off the pace, and perhaps just need a bit more time to get used to the rigours of competitive football again. But they will have to improve drastically if they are to have any chance of getting back into League One, which I'm sure the aim will be. But some of the comments I've seen from fans include only one team's ready for the new season, and it wasn't us. One said there's a clear defensive issue, same problem in both games, Palace and Grimsby, obviously referring to that pre-season friendly, which I'm not sure I agree with, because I was at the Palace game and thought Crawley defended really well against some incredibly top-class opposition in that game. So it was a bit of a surprise to see them collapse against Grimsby in this way. And one said he was happy to see the honesty from Lindsay, that they were rubbish, but his little consolation for all those poor away fans that made the long journey to see such a woeful performance. So that just about sums it up, I think.
Yes, well, I think before we move on to Ron and him telling us about quite a forthright assessment of things from Scott Lindsay as well as Captain Dion Conroy, how did you see things at Grimsby? We've kind of gone over it there, but you couldn't have asked for a worse start, could you?
No. It really was an absolutely abysmal game. As Sam said, I couldn't see where the penalty came from at all. Having watched it, I've watched it several times on replay, and I still can't see how he's given a penalty there. Scott and Dion both said that it's rubbish. They didn't turn up. They were really poor on all aspects of the game. They just never got to the second ball, and everything was wrong about the game. And they'll need a vast improvement on Saturday when they play Newport.
Yeah, absolutely. And is the only consolation the fact that this is, well, I know Crawley fans probably won't be happy with me saying this, but it is the first game of the season and nothing is done, if you see what I mean, on the first game of the season.
No, I mean, Scott did say that obviously the result was the bad news, but the good news is it's not going to define our season. When the side that was promoted 2 years ago, they got beat 6-0 by Swindon early on in the season. So it's one result doesn't make the season. They've got a chance to put it right this weekend. Newport drew with Notts County on Saturday in their first game of the season at home. So they'll be looking for their first win as well. So it should be a good game.
It should be indeed, and we'll move on to that shortly. But we're now going to move to matters off the pitch, where there has been major upheaval at boardroom level at Crawley Town. The Reds have new owners after KB Sports and Leisure acquired a majority and controlling stake in the club following its substantial acquisition of Wagby United LLC. I think we knew that they were going to potentially be new owners at some point, but what do we know about these owners, Sam? And will there be drastic changes at the club? And what have the supporters said about their arrival?
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it? So I think this transition marks a significant new chapter in the club's history, and KB Sports and Leisure, under the leadership of Raphael Khalil, will now assume full operational control of Crawley. New ownership groups say they're committed to driving the Red Devils forward, both on and off the pitch, with a focus on sustainable growth, fan engagement and competitive ambition. Together, they aim to bring a modern and forward-thinking approach that will drive the club's development both on the pitch and behind the scenes. Owner Raphael Khalil said it's an honour and a privilege to take ownership of Crawley Town Football Club. This club has an incredibly loyal fan base and a rich identity, and we're committed to building something truly special, something sustainable, ambitious and rooted in the community. He said the long-term vision is to create a modern football club that balances on-pitch success with long-term stability. We will invest in infrastructure, prioritise data and innovation, and ensure Crawley Town is a club that reflects the values and energy of its supporters. And Scott Lindsay said there's a real sense of excitement and direction around the club. He said Raphael and the new board clearly understand what Crawley Town represents and, more importantly, what it can become. Raphael has a strong grasp of both football and people, and in my 30 plus years in the game, I can confidently say the club couldn't be in better hands. So these are all positive things that are being said, and I think that has given Crawley fans some encouragement, and there does seem to be quite a lot of enthusiasm from them. I think GH Coaches, the away supporters travel team, said we would like to welcome the new owners to the club. It's been a turbulent couple of seasons, but now the new directors and new vision going forward is something that we needed. It's all extremely positive for us supporters and hopefully an exciting future ahead. So yeah, lots of optimism there, and obviously time will tell if it all proves to be true to be as good as it sounds, basically.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll get both of your views on this, starting with you, Sam. I think this means potentially the end of Wagby United's association with the Reds. How will they be remembered? Because it's been highs and lows and nothing in between, I don't think.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that, really. They've delivered some big highs, obviously none more so than the promotion to League One via the playoffs at Wembley, and that will go down as one of the greatest achievements in the club's history. And Wagby, at the end of the day, were the owners at the time, and you can't ever dispute that. There's obviously been some questionable decisions in terms of outgoings and perhaps prioritising financial gain in terms of the players they're selling without perhaps looking at what's going to happen on the pitch as they leave. But I think Scott Lindsay has been obviously such a massive part of the Crawley success, and for him to come back when Crawley were in such a precarious position obviously last season and to very nearly keep them up would have been an absolute miracle. So that was a low point for Crawley to go up and come straight back down again, but hopefully with his new owners in charge they can kind of, I think, just make things a bit more stable, and hopefully Crawley can build with what they've got and not sell their best players when they come good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ron, what do you reckon of Wagby United's legacy? Sam's spoken about the playoff final, but I cast my mind back to, I think it was around Christmas time, maybe 2 years ago, where Preston Johnson was in the dugout, which just seemed a bit amateur to me.
Yeah, that wasn't a very high point at all. Obviously, recently sacked the manager at the time. Darren Byfield would take over as temporary manager, as it were, and then he didn't have a coach or anybody on the board, so Preston decided to sit on the bench with him and have no idea what was going on. So, yeah, that was a very low point for the club. And there has been quite a few, obviously, Sam mentioned about the fact that, yes, we got up, but then got rid of the squad pretty much straight away. And again, similar sort of things happened this year. We got rid of the players and got new ones come in. I got on quite well with Preston because we had a few chats with him, outside of football, and I got on quite well with one or two of the other owners as well. So I didn't see them as a bad thing, but I can understand why the club or the fans are quite happy that they've disappeared, as it were.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the Kindle brothers still have something to do with WAGME, but I don't think there's too much there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's an interesting legacy they leave. But just hours after the KB Sports and Leisure announcement, the Reds confirmed they had appointed a new CEO. Who has taken the reins, Ron, and what did they have to say about their appointment? I think, without meaning to give too much away, I think most supporters are quite happy with who's got the job.
Yeah, it is actually quite a familiar face to most Crawley fans. KB Sports and Leisure announced Tom Allman as the new CEO. He's had a number of roles at the club since joining as an intern back in 2016. He is a familiar face around the club and he knows the club inside out. So it is a good appointment. Tom said, I'm honoured to assume the role of chief executive at Crawley Town. Over the past 9 years, I've had the privilege of serving the club in a range of roles, and during that time, we have made significant progress on and off the pitch. I am excited to continue that journey alongside our talented off-field staff and our talented group of coaches and players as we enter what is truly an exciting chapter for the club and the community we represent.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's certainly something. I think it's certainly something that they. It's a good appointment for the club, and he, like I say, he knows the club inside out.
Yeah, absolutely, and best of luck to Tom in his new role as well. But returning to matters on the pitch, the Reds will hope to pick up their first win of the season in the home curtain raiser against Newport on Saturday. Do you reckon we might see wholesale changes after that debacle at Grimsby, Sam? And who are the ones to look out for from danger men, if you will, for Newport?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to predict, really. I have a feeling, my gut says Scott will want to give them another chance and give an opportunity to make amends for a horror show at Grimsby. And obviously it'll be a completely different game at home, with obviously the majority of the support as well. So I think they'll be desperate to put things right, and obviously to get off the mark. And I don't think there will be any sense of no doubt about the ability of the players. I think that Scott obviously is confident in them to have named them for that first game, and we'll probably go with a similar team, I would say. But one definite change we assume will be Harry Forster, who unfortunately suffered an injury in that first half. Papadopoulos came on for him at Grimsby, so I expect to see him start. And it'll be interesting to see if Danny Cashman is fit. He's had a bit of thigh injury, so hasn't been involved. So it'll be good to see him in action if he is fit, and that potentially is another change that can maybe make a difference for Crawley. But in terms of Newport, they drew 1-1 with Notts County in their opening game of the League Two season. They've already signed goalkeepers Nick Zenev and Jordan Wright, centre-back Lee Jenkins, Wales midfielder Matt Smith, and striker Jed Garner, who actually scored the goal against Notts County. Manchester United defender Habib Ogunye and Cardiff City striker Michael Reindorf have joined on loan. So there are a few players to watch out for Newport. And I think their boss, David Hughes, has been speaking quite highly about Lee Jenkins, who is slotted straight into the starting 11 and has caught the eye on the right of a trio with captain James Clark and Matt Baker against Barnet in the Carabao Cup and Notts County in League Two. He's a couple of injuries they've got, and he's making the most of that for Newport. And obviously they had a decent result on the opening day and will be looking to build on it. So it's a winnable game for Crawley. I think they need to be showing a lot more than they did at Grimsby, and get off on a good start. Get on the front foot quite early, I think is the right approach for this game.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And finally, sticking with the Welsh theme, Crawley then visits Swansea City for a first-round Carabao Cup tie on Tuesday night. I'm not a fan of the Carabao Cup myself, but how important do you think this competition will be to Lindsay, Ron? Do you think this game will be a bit of a free hit considering the calibre of opposition, or do you think the Reds have a real chance of getting something out of this game? Because I think most people expect the Swans to make changes. How do you see things?
Yeah, I think Scott will use the game to play some of the fringe players. And people like Danny Cashman, if he's coming back from injury, to get a bit more game time. And players like that haven't really featured much. I mean, it is only 2 games into the season. So it will be a good test for the team. But I also think Swansea will make changes, as we said.
Yeah.
And so it could be a game that cause they travel to Middlesbrough on their opening game of the season. So on the Saturday. So they got Middlesbrough away on Saturday, and then they called it home. So they're looking to perhaps play a few of their fringe players as well. So it could be a game that Crawley can come at the right time if they get a good win at Newport, or home to Newport on Saturday, goes with a bit of confidence into it. So yeah, I can see Scott taking it relatively seriously, but I think it'll be a changes from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And as ever, we will finish with score predictions. Just the 2 games this week, both Crawley Town. We'll start with Crawley v Newport on Saturday. We'll start with you, Ron. Are Crawley going to get off to a winning start to the season?
Yeah, I think so. I think Crawley will win this one 2-0. I'm quite confident this weekend.
Do you share Ron's
fans will get behind them?
Oh, sorry, Ron.
I was going to say the fans will get behind them. They'll get off to a really good. Scott will stick a rocket up them, so they'll need to come out and show exactly what they can do. So I think Newport may well get be on a beat on Saturday.
I think we can all agree that Scott will be sticking a rocket up him, Sam, can't we?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's going to be some choice words said during the week and after that game at Grimsby. So I think there'll be a reaction, and Crawley will win 2-1.
Henry,
what do you reckon? You seemed a bit. What do you reckon?
I'm just loving it. I'm just loving hearing it. I'm loving it. I reckon 3-0. I reckon they're going to come out all guns blazing, 2 goals in the first 45 minutes, and then sealed off with a goal right at the last. Go on.
You know what? I kind of agree with you. I think that Crawley might end up battering Newport, but famous last words. Especially, they can't put in the same performance they did on Saturday, and I think Scott will make it quite plain to them that can't happen again. So I reckon Newport could well be in for a bit of a hiding, but we will see. Turning to Tuesday, their Carabao Cup game at Swansea. Make me enthusiastic about this, Sam, basically.
Well, Crawley famously had some good runs in the Cup. We've had some big results, and you look at the one against Norwich and going games like that where it's been incredible atmosphere. And Tuesday, Wednesday night under the lights at Crawley in a Cup game, can't really replicate that in the league. So I think that's one thing. And obviously, it gives an opportunity for some of the fringe players to get involved as well and just to get some minutes in the legs. So yeah, I think it's a game to somewhat look forward to, and a good result can maybe build some confidence. And yeah, I think Crawley will be looking to make a bit of a run in the Cup to get the fans excited.
Do you think they'll win on Tuesday?
Yeah, go on then. I'll say 1-0. An edgy game, but Crawley will nick it.
Do you share Sam's, I think, confidence? He didn't sound convinced myself, but I think there was confidence there from Sam.
Yeah, I can see where Sam's coming from, and I think it'll be an edgy game, and I think it'll be a 1-0 or maybe even extra time and penalties job. I don't think it'll be. It's only going to be a tight game, I feel. As I say, both sides will probably make changes from the games they play on Saturday. So yeah, we'll just hopefully it will be a good game for the fans to watch, and we'll sneak a win in the end.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Finally, Henry, Crawley, do you reckon they'll do it? Should we go for a clean sweep of wins?
No, I don't reckon. I don't reckon. I think Scott Lindsay, although I'm not sort of a Crawley supporter as much as these guys and sort of follow it as much, but I can imagine Lindsay really focusing on trying to just keep league performances tight. And if they go out in the Cup, they go out in the Cup. Their main aim is going to be making sure that they can give themselves the best possible chance of going back up into League One. So I think they'll lose 2-0. I think they'll lose 2-0, but I think they'll make a good account of themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Honestly, I couldn't agree more, Henry. I think you're spot on there. Well, yeah, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for joining us, Sam, Henry and Ron. Don't forget you can catch up with all the latest sports news covering everything we've talked about today at sussexworld.co.uk/sport. Thank you very much for listening and or watching, and we will see you again next week.